Let's just have a look at what files we provide. So we have PDFs, SVGs and FCMs. PDF is a portable document graphic. We have two different sorts, and one is for layout and the other one's for pattern. The layout PDF files are a printable graphic of the design with all the pieces in the correct position and numbered with a sequence for when they are applied to the specific pattern piece when creating the applique. Then we have SVGs, which are digital cutting files, and then we have created from the SVGs our FCMs, which are fabric cutting machine files. And the FCM is specific to the Brother Scan and Cut, which is what we use. So our first file we'll have a look at is the layout file, which is not mirrored. So this is what we see the design as being finished. It's been printed on 2 pieces of paper because the design is too long for one. The paper that we have chosen to print on is a letter, US letter size. If you wanted to print it on metric A4 paper, it will just give you a deeper margin at the bottom of the paper. Same with our pattern, that's mirrored, not mirrored. Our pattern this time sits on 1 piece of paper. Most of the time it will be over 2 pieces of paper, which you'll need to join in the middle. So the files that you'll use the most will be the layout file, which is not mirrored, and so 1, 2, 3 and 4, which gives you our overlap. So it's got all the information on there. 1, 2, 3 and 4 is the sequence. You lay 1 down first, then number 2, then number 3, and then number 4. So our layout not mirrored PDF is probably the most common one which you'll use as far as sorting your design. If we look at our SVG, the SVG is a file which is generated for the digital cutting machine. Now, most machines can't read an SVG pure. It has to go into software, but Scan and Cut can, but it will only be able to draw it. It won't cut from it. It will only be able to draw from it. That's why we provide an FCM, so as you can actually cut from it. So I'm just going to get rid of my outside area. So these files you can separate them, and you can turn them from a cutting file to a drawing file. See, we've got pens along the edge there, and so when we can either choose to have each layer or each outline shape to be a pen, and then we can export it as an FCM. We can transfer it wirelessly, or we can transfer it to the machine with a cord connected to our computer. So we're looking at let's just go back. So we've gone from, we need to have a look at so that we've got our cutting file here. So those are blades on the side there. And we can also change our mat size. This is the 12 by 12. We can move our pieces around on the mat. So what we would do is we'd actually pop our fabric down, we'd place our fabric down onto a mat, fabric side against the sticky mat, scan it, and then once the machine has seen the scan, we lay the outlines to be cut on top of the fabric. Quite easy. It seems daunting to start off with there, but it is really, really simple once you get into it, and it's very quick. It's very quick indeed. Make sure that your pieces sit inside the dotted line of your mat. It's the suggested dotted line, otherwise it will not work. Now, we could add another file to that. We don't have to actually just have one file. We can add another file. I'm going to add an FCM file to it. Now, the FCM file will always be a single color, and it's generally grey. That means that it comes in as default as being a cutting file, but if you wanted to print it, so we'll get rid of those other files. If you wanted to print it, you'd have to change it to being print available. So all it is a matter of actually selecting them all and telling them that you want them to be prints rather than cuts. Quite a simple process. A very, very simple process. So there we are. So once we've changed it so as it's gone through to being a print only. You can flip horizontally, flip vertically. You can do all sorts of things. You can add seams to it, all sorts of things. Our main files will be our pattern, which is mirrored, and our layout, which is not mirrored. So when we look at our fabric, so this has been completed, so we're ready to stitch. So we have our layout, which is mirrored. So when I say mirrored, it's the underside of our design. So if you were to flip it over, it's the underside of the fabric. So it does not represent the finished product, it's the underside of it. The finished product is represented by the not mirrored PDF. We have to join it because, again, I've said that we've used letter size paper and our design is bigger than one sheet of letter, so we need to actually just trim off 1/8 of an inch at the bottom of one sheet. Doesn't matter whether it's which one it is. And we have some crosshairs. See, I've got 2, 2, 2 and 2 on one end and 1, 1, 1 and 1 on the other end. They will match the set at the bottom, so it makes joining really, really accurate. So crosshair on top of crosshair. Just be patient. Paper shifts very, very easily. So I've stuck that down, but I don't think that I'm quite close enough. So I'm just going to peel that off. Love this clear tape because it is repositionable until it gets really stuck into place. It's quite repositionable to start with. So okay, so that's just it's just sellotape, plain sellotape. So line up that crosshair 1, 1, 1 and 1. You can see them. Just line that up so it's the numbers are sitting on top of each other. And if those are sitting on top of each other at both ends of the paper, the rest of the lines will meet perfectly. And the whole idea is to turn this into one sheet. Okay, so there we have not mirrored and mirrored. That's the face. That's the underside. We wouldn't use the underside one very often at all. I can only think of perhaps one occasion that you'd do that if you're going to be doing reverse applique. The most important information there is the lines, the overlaps, and the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the most important information. We'll just have a quick look at our pattern pieces. So again, we have one mirrored, one not mirrored. The not mirrored file and the mirrored file, the not mirrored file is the one that we're going to use the most because we'll be cutting our pieces from the back. We're using a double-sided fusible web. So that one is the most common that we will use. If you would use the not mirrored file, which is the top face file, more so for fabrics that were hard to actually draw on, or you use it with freezer paper. Yeah, so it's not very often we would use that. So our two files are mainly our pattern is mirrored and our layout is not mirrored. It's those are our two main files. We give you the rest of the files because everyone wants to do something different. So it's easy for us to create them at the same time.